Welcome to the first lesson in the YouTube Launch System course. I'm incredibly excited by this lesson because this is where the transformation begins. I can't wait to see what you come up with. This lesson is called You Have a Superpower, and it's called Your Inner Vibe. I'm going to start the lesson by challenging you to believe this statement. The most powerful thing that you bring to your channel is not your expertise. It's actually you. This lesson matters because very few courses teach you this truth, and yet it's the most powerful thing you could ever learn about YouTubing. I wish that someone had shown me this when I first got started. Here is 3 truths that you need to know about it. Firstly, every single person has an inner vibe that drives everything that they do. Your unique combination of gifts, talents, and expertise are what brings your content to life. And when you nail it, it takes your raw content and transforms it into something amazing that your audience connects with. Once you know what your inner vibe is, you can leverage it and engage it as a superpower to turbocharge your impact. To demonstrate what this looks like, I want you to think back to some of the favorite things that you've learned. Maybe it's a favorite teacher, your favorite content that you engage with, or your favorite content creator. Have a think about what it is that makes it so engaging. I can almost guarantee that if you took out the vibe of the presenter, the vibe of how they presented things, the vibe of the framework that they created around with it, the content would be significantly less impactful for you. In fact, in many cases, people will say that they heard the same content with a different vibe, and that's when it landed. The content didn't change, but the vibe of the presenter did, and that's what made it connect with you. The thing to remember about this is that you connected with that because of the vibe, and people will connect with your content because of your vibe. When you're going through this process, and before I give you the framework that I use to help people find theirs, I want you to remember 3 things that come up every single time. The first thing is to remember that your expertise is not your vibe. And that's really, really important. There is a difference between who you are and what you do. And this lesson is all about who you are. The what you do part is something we cover in the next lesson, but don't get those 2 things confused. You are far more than what you do. The second thing to remember is that your vibe is precious. For most people, there's always been a person or a character in the past that has told them that it's not. And that may have kept you down, may have kept you feeling insecure. It could have had a whole bunch of negative things that it caused. I am here to tell you the opposite. Your inner vibe is precious. The world needs your voice and they need your perspective on things. And that is what your vibe brings. So lean into it. And the third one is don't be a copy. Your vibe is unique to you and you should own that. Let's get into some of the ways that you can do this. There's 3 things that inform your vibe. Firstly is your energy. That's the way that you engage with the content that you are sharing. It's pretty obvious when people share stuff that they're not interested in, even if they're an interesting person in general. You can tell their voice is flat, the way that they engage with the content is flat, the way they think about the content is flat, and that transfers into how their audience listens to it. As a result, your energy is a huge part of your vibe. If you love the content that you're sharing, if you believe in it, if you're passionate about it, that will absolutely show in how you turn up and present. The second thing that informs your vibe is your perspective. You have a unique set of experiences based upon how you were brought up, how you engage with your area of expertise, the things you learned along the way. Like you have a completely unique perspective. And this is really important because that unique perspective informs how you talk about and share your content. Your perspective is a huge part of your vibe and it's hugely important. The third one is a little bit more mechanical in nature, and this is your communication style. Everybody has a slightly different communication style and there's always room for improvement. That's okay. Just be aware that your communication style is going to be primarily driven, particularly initially, by your vibe. If you're excited and bubbly, you're going to use those kind of words. You're going to engage in that way. If you're phlegmatic and laid back, that's also going to come through in how you communicate. There's not really any right or wrong for vibes, but there are 3 golden rules that you've got to follow if you want to make this work for you as a superpower. The first one is you have to be consistent. You can't turn up one day to a presentation or a YouTube video that you're creating and be super bubbly and excited and talk at a million miles an hour and include lots of different things. And then the next time come along and be someone completely different. That's confusing for you. It's confusing for your audience. And ultimately, it's very confusing for the people who you're trying to build rapport with. The second thing that is closely related to this is that you have to always be yourself. There's no one else who's like you. Who you are has value, so be yourself. But feel free to express yourself the way that you were created to express yourself. And don't feel like you have to copy what other people have done. I know for me, when I first got started, this was a huge thing to realize that I could be me. I like going deep into details. I like being incredibly technical. That's who I am. For most of my life, people have been telling me that that was terrible and they didn't understand me. But on YouTube, I found an audience that resonated with me and I was able to build a business out of it. And the third one is, as I've just referenced, is you've got to work through the insecurity. I have not yet met someone who creates content who doesn't feel insecure at some part of the process. That is a part of how things are, for whatever reason, whether it's right or wrong, good or bad. Insecurity is part of the process. What I would say to you is don't ignore it. You definitely have to acknowledge it. But please, please, please keep pushing through it. I promise you that if you keep engaging with this content, keep engaging with the process, the insecurity will fade and you will find on the other end an amazing audience who is cheering you on and loving what you do. I want to give you a practical example about what this looked like in real life for my TradeOxy channel. When I first started TradeOxy, I established 3 rules. Keep in mind, I had no idea what I was doing. You're getting like the distilled wisdom from all of my experimentation. But these 3 things I actually got right. I established 3 rules. The first one was that all code samples would always work because I tried them myself. I wanted to make sure that everything I typed on the screen would be accurate, even if that meant I had to redo the entire tape. And thirdly, I wanted to make sure that all content would be backed by a study guide. I made these 3 choices because I thought back to my university days and my school days, and I remembered all of the teachers who would just hand wave past problems that I was really struggling with. I also remembered those teachers who took time to explain concepts and show how they worked. For me, that really resonated, and it's probably one of the reasons I love going into technical detail so much. So I decided at the start of my YouTube journey that I would always major on those 3 things, and I did. What happened was those 3 things defined the vibe that I presented with. It defined my energy. I was able to engage with my content as a lived experience expert, not a reporter of facts. I wasn't just talking about what I was doing. I knew it, and I knew it because I'd done it myself, and that showed up in how I presented. It also shifted my perspective. I became an expert guide to the world of trading automation, not a get-rich-quick peddler. For me, that was really important because it helped me avoid the fake influencer vibes that I'd gotten from so many of the channels I researched before I did it. And finally, it really, really influenced my communication style. The nature of the way that I presented meant that I had to slow down, pace what I was doing, and focus on only sharing 1 course per lesson, which, by the way, is just a great tip that we're going to be talking about later on in this course. The results were extraordinary, as I've come to realize. Even now, some of my older content remains in the top search results for Google search and YouTube when you search for things like MetaTrader trading bots and Python MetaTrader trading. In the world of AI and fast-moving content and the high-value niche that this is actually in, that's actually an exceptional achievement. Probably the biggest one was when I was doing that content is I absolutely loved creating it. And you know what? That's a real key to sustainably creating content. And finally, my channel continues to grow, which is just amazing. The reality is that those decisions derived from my vibe are what drove audience value. And that meant that people wanted to come back to my channel. Before we get into the framework that allows you to figure out your vibe, I do want to tell you 3 things that no one will ever mention, but they will definitely change your life if you ingest them. The first one is your personality is a filter, not a barrier, so don't change it. I don't care how many people have told you that your personality is a problem in some different way. When it comes to this world, your personality is who you are, and it will attract the people that you want to work with and repel the people that you don't. Secondly, real life insight beats surface level maybes every single time. So don't be afraid to sweat the details. If you're looking at a video and you just know that you need to go back and do something better, do it. I can 100% tell you that this will make a huge difference to your content, and you'll be amazed at how those videos will be the ones that have the most impact on your audience. The third one is don't be afraid of your opinions. Opinions matter. Your opinion on a particular given area of subject matter expertise, provided it's informed by your ability to back it up with facts and research, really does matter. It helps people engage with what you're doing. Let's talk about the Inside Out Vibe Discovery Framework, an amazing yet simple way to discover what your vibe is and help us to start to define it. I call it the 3 C's. The first one is thinking about when you felt the most comfortable engaged when learning. For me, I was often able to reflect on times at university when I just had lecturers and tutors who would just present their course in an amazing way. As I became more and more confident in my educational abilities on YouTube, I often reflected on what made that stuff really engaging for me, and then worked to replicate that in my own style. The second C is about content. Have a think about the educational content that you love to watch. In general, people will naturally connect with educational content that aligns with their vibe. If you like highly technical videos, it's likely that you want to produce highly technical content. If you love things that focus on frameworks and, like little graphs and that sort of stuff, that's probably going to be the kind of content that you want to create. And finally, I want you to reflect on the times that you've naturally just shared stuff with other people and it's really resonated with them. Chances were that when you did this and you did it well, you were in your vibe zone. And if you can replicate that, you'll be well on your way to creating a very highly engaged, highly valuable set of content for YouTube. Now I'm going to turn it over to you. Go to the module worksheet and then answer the 3 questions in the vibe discovery section. There's 2 different types of worksheets, but they're both exactly the same. One is a PDF copy that is great for printing out and filling out with pen and paper if that's what you want to do. One is an Excel spreadsheet that you can download, open up in Google Sheets or Excel, and fill it out there. Doesn't matter which one you use, they go through the exact same thing. Once you go through the 3 questions that are in there, I want you to use 2 to 3 sentences to fill out your vibe statement. We will refer to this throughout the rest of the course. And third, I want you to make a recording of yourself, no more than 3 minutes, that states what your vibe is and why it resonates with you. If you're doing the Done With You service, my challenge to you and what you need to do for the end of this lesson is to send me that video. Be brave, do it in 1 take, and I'll see what you come up with. To prepare for the next lesson, you need to do these 3 things. Number 1, complete the worksheet. Number 2, reflect on your vibe statement and make sure it resonates with you. And number 3, start thinking about your expertise.